When I was at, Baltimore Country Club, we had 5 sports. We had an 82% conversion rate between sports.
Wow.
Royal Oaks, we're up over 80% between the two, tennis and pickleball. So, if you can do that, when you look at a club that does $1 million and, how did they get to 2 million? They must have raised prices. Well, no, we actually didn't raise prices. It's just when you have parties that have 40 people playing tennis and you add juniors and you add pickleball to it, and now parties are going up to 120 plus, and you have all these different programs going together and this crossover, everybody wins. So
welcome to the On Par podcast. I'm your host, Drew D'Alberto from the Winners Award Group showroom here in Coconut Creek. I've got a good friend joining me, Jarrett Chirrico, the president and founder of the Directors Club of America, and he's also the director of rackets at Royal Oaks Country Club in Dallas, Texas. Thanks for being here with us today, Jarrett.
Well, thanks for having me, Drew. It's so great to see you again. And I love spending time with you at the retreat, and it's always, it's instant love with you.
I tell you what, man, you did a better sales job on me being a partner of the Directors Club through my company, Winners Award Group, than anybody ever has, because you told me all of the benefits that I was going to get and that everybody in your organization needs what I do. And then you said, by the way, I need this, this, and this for my own club, and we work with our partners. And immediately you and Chris Gale, your business partner, who's now changed his position as a director of rackets from one club to another recently, and he'll be on the podcast in the next few weeks. Immediately, I got orders from both of you guys, and then you said, you got to come to the retreat. You're going to meet 225 directors of racket sports. We set up our table. I met a ton of great people, and I'm still getting calls 2.5 months, 3 months later from people that I met and had a brief meeting with in some cases. And they said, look, you know what? We like the fact that you're a one-stop shop. We like the fact that we can kind of use you for anything we need, and we don't have to deal with 10 different vendors. So not only did you do a great sales job, but then you backed it up.
Well, you're the easy button, and that's what everybody wants. Directors are not looking for discounts. They're looking for 2 things. They're looking for trust, that they can trust that the quality and the product's going to be there. And they're looking for time. They want to save time. And when you think of something as simple as trophies or, different ideas, not only do you have everything, but the best thing is what I love about you is being able to text you and saying, hey, I'm doing this men's event. Give me some ideas. I have this ladies mahjong event. Give me some ideas. And you opened up for me, you opened up my eyes to things I never would have thought about. And so you've elevated not only the experience at my club, but for directors all over the country. And that's really what we want to do with our partners is, bring value to you in the form of clients and retention, but really bring value to our members saying, clubs across the country are now going to give better gifts. They're going to have better experiences because you're now connected to somebody great. And I think that everything we do goes back to that trust. So, truly grateful for you and Winners Award Group.
Well, thank you. My dad taught me when I got into sales and business development. A long time ago, I was 18 years old when I got my first sales job in between semesters at college. He said, all you have to do is return people's phone calls, tell them the truth, and do what you say. And I tell people all the time, in South Florida, where I'm based, that's not easy to do. It's not easy to find people that hit that criteria, so the bar is kind of low. But you've elevated that with the Directors Club. So let's jump into how you started the Directors Club. Give me the story of the brainchild.
Well, before we even talk about that, I think you touched on something really important. You said there's just so much about picking up the phone and calling somebody back. And for anybody listening or anybody in life that wants to be successful, if you think you're going to be successful and not have an aspect of sales, if not total sales in what you do, well, then you're drinking the Kool-Aid, because you need to be great at sales. And it doesn't matter what you do. The best people are responsive. And I hear all the time, oh, I'm busy. I'll get back to you. I have too much to do. Well, I have basically 2 full-time jobs. Royal Oaks is the biggest country club in the world for rackets programs at private clubs. We've built that. Directors Club is the largest hospitality leadership family, as we call it. And I have 4 kids, and yet I still respond right away. And responding doesn't just mean, to me, when somebody responds like you do, I know they care and they're invested. And if we can be invested not only in ourselves and others, there's limitless success. And that's why we started the Directors Club. It's the idea that we're better together. The idea, tennis was very much fractured. It was regional, and rackets is national. And there's these search firms and clubs, and what they want is, yeah, they want you to be fractured, because search firms can make $25,000 doing a search, and nobody knows better. You have 24 hours to take this deal, and usually it's a shitty deal, and no one talks, and no one betters each other, and nobody knows. Pay for this class, pay for that class. And our thing is that we reject the idea of an expert, because we know that together, collectively, there's nobody that knows more. And when you think of that, and when you think about putting together these leaders, the best in everything, it's not saying I know everything. It's saying I don't. I'm really good at some things, but you might be better at something else. And when we're vulnerable and we put that aside, the egos aside, there's no limit to the amount of shared success we have. And I would say the other focus for the Directors Club is the idea that you don't need to be the star of the story. You just need to be a part of the story. And if you're a part of everybody's story, you're always relevant. And if you're always relevant, you'll always be successful. And that's what we should all be striving to do.
So now you got to tell me how you started this thing, because you had an idea where you didn't want it to be fractionalized, and you wanted to get like-minded individuals that would share great ideas and share. I was listening to some of your breakout sessions, and then in the panel discussions, and you guys had really good information for your peers, which I thought was phenomenal. And I got a lot out of it because I have a huge footprint in the golf world, and this is a golf podcast, but golf and tennis are at the same country clubs. They just may not be in Florida, because we don't have as big a tennis following as you guys do in Texas, for example, or Georgia or other places. But all over the country, some of these clubs, and I learned this from Chris Gale when he was on the panel with you, some of the clubs, their tennis club makes more than the golf side of the club.
Yeah. Well, pickleball is really the neutralizer. That's really the ones that bring the golf down now and really is connecting the club. So it's amazing. But, all the information you heard there, that's found through our peers. It's conversations. It's big directors picking up the phone and calling each other and just shooting the shit to learn from each other. That's what it comes from. I talk to more GMs on a weekly basis, probably than any director in the country, more GMs than directors, because I want to know clubs, and there's ways that we can help each other. And you have to be willing to give. I believe that relationships are always a two-way street. So for me, I always want to answer 2 questions. What can I give, and what can I get? And if I can't answer both of those questions, it's not a relationship I want to be in. And I think everybody should be honest like that. If you're going to give something, you can't expect someone to know what you want, but you have to have a clear path and a clear direction of, this is what I expect, and this is what you should expect. And from that, something beautiful could be born. And, so the Directors Club, I'd been speaking, COVID year was fantastic for me. I spoke everywhere. But I'd say for about 5 years, I was doing about 14 to 16 conferences a year. I was probably, the most sought after speaker in rackets for sure. And I was, sitting with my wife one night, and she's always said, you do this all over. We should be doing it on our own. Like, you should create something. And she's always the one pushing me. I always think that, everything's going to fail. She thought of the name, the Directors Club, but the idea is that when you go to these conferences, there's 2 or 3 good speakers. I don't care what conference you go to. It could be like, you can go to a conference with the best speakers in the world. There's still 2 or 3 that stick out, and the rest, especially in rackets, they're all filler. It's all a waste of time. Mm-hmm. And when you go to these conferences, the people that are somebody, meaning the leaders that are invested, small amount of them, they always find each other. So for me, going to a conference is great. I'm sitting there with 5 or 10 people that are the biggest in the industry, and for the other 400 people, no one, they go off and they take their notes. They don't learn anything, but they take their notes and they continue on the rat race. But for the 10 of us that are sitting there talking, we're getting so much out of it. And I said, people follow people. So if we can bring people together, and great people that you want to follow, success can happen. And it was as simple as saying, we're going to start we start off with bi-weekly Zooms, and they turned into once a month now. And they turned into once a month because the quality's just gone up. I mean, we've had the founders of Planet Fitness. We've had senators. We have Rick Barry coming on, NBA Hall of Famer. We've had billionaires come on. We've had tennis players. We've had Kim Clijsters, Janko Tipsarevic, Brad Gilbert. We have Andre Agassi coming on. So the guests are huge, but it's not about talking about what they do now. We all know them being successful. It's about saying, how did you become successful? Tell us your story. And by doing that, we're learning character traits, behaviors, and like everything else, rackets has taught us all, like, you have to adapt. You have to be able to pivot and grow. And the Directors Club has really grown out of that. It's just saying, what comes next? Always thinking what's next. After that, it said, we need a retreat. Again, my wife, you need a retreat. You need a conference, but you don't call it a conference. It's got to be more like a retreat. And what do we think of success? Well, we think of a guy in a suit, holding a brandy, smoking a cigar, all the things I don't do. But like when you think of success, that's what you think of. And so it has to be, these directors make hundreds of thousands of dollars. They're as successful, if not more successful than doctors. They put their whole life into it. So I'm not going to give them an RSPA or PTR box lunch and a cold coffee. No, I'm going to have limitless food. I'm going to have sushi and lobster and steak. I'm going to have open bars. I'm going to have cigar rollers. I'm going to make it something that's a celebration. And that was born out of that. And that grew into our partnership page and continuing education credits with CMAA. And we're doing stuff with PGA Show now and Racquet X. And it's just limitless. We're going to launch a partnership with a search firm. And I think for anybody that's truly ambitious, and I think it's a gift sometimes, and I think it's really a struggle, but I'm not someone that settles, and I'm not someone that can just, in many ways, I can't really enjoy the moment. I love the retreat. I don't remember during the retreat happening. I don't enjoy it. I don't remember most of it. I'm just in the zone, but the lead up to the retreat is some of the most enjoyable time of my life. I love the selling. I love the buildup. I love the marketing. During the retreat, it's more like holding your breath. You want everything to go well. You're so in the moment. And then you have that letdown afterwards because it's over. And then when you get the date for the following year, then you get the excitement again. It's a rat race. But I've always felt like my mind is a storm, and it's not like I don't have the ability to turn it off. And I think that's for people that are ambitious, they can't. And so I find, when you're up at 3 a.m. or 2 a.m, do something with that time, try something, reach out to people, because, Rackets has never had a moment like it has right now where everything's new and somebody has to lead it. The rackets industry is going to grow 300% and lose 30% of staff in the next 5 years. Those numbers tell you, that if you're truly leading, like, this is your moment. So it's, I guess you could say it started from my wife, and it still continued to be pushed by her. So everything new that we do, she runs the marketing for the Directors Club. She does most of the back end, the partnerships, all that is through her vision forward. I'm the one that drives home the directors and the connections. And, it's really, it's about the Directors Club belongs to all of us. It belongs to all the members. It belongs to me. And, everybody's invested because everybody's winning from it. It's making everybody relevant. It's getting better jobs. It's getting people paid more. It's getting people educated more. So it's going to keep changing because we evolve based on, what we hear and where we need to be to rise to the moment. But it started from an idea, and I've got no idea where it's going.
Are you pushing 1,000 members now in this thing? You're close, right?
No, we're almost at 1,200 members.
Oh my goodness. Every time I talk to you, which is often, it seems like you added another 75 or 80 members. So congratulations on that. How many directors of racket sports are out there in the United States?
Honestly, I couldn't even tell you. There's thousands. There's still directors of tennis. There's commercial clubs. There's member-owned clubs. There's college coaches that are called director of tennises. There's just so many different revenue paths. And I think that people need to really understand, what are you good at? Like, it's not just, I want to be a director. Well, are you good at platform tennis? Are you good at tennis? Are you better at pickleball? Like, where's your passion? Because every job is different and you're never ready for the job you take. Like, I like to believe I'm one of the best directors in the country. I've certainly proven that, but I don't feel like I was ready when I went to Baltimore. I don't feel like I was ready when I came here. I don't know if I'll be ready if I ever leave. I hope I never leave. I love it here. But um, what I mean is that doesn't mean I can't do my job. I'm great at my job. But in this is the same for GMs. Every club is different. Every membership is different. Every staff is different. There's challenges. There's opportunities. So when I say you're not ready, is you can't just go by a book. There's no runway of saying this is how you take off and land, but it's saying that based on all your experiences and all your network and the family and everything you know, all the things you've put in your toolbox, you're going to succeed. And every club I've got at, though I've always got there and felt like it's new, I've always been able to grow the programs instantly. I mean, Baltimore Country Club did $7,000 in July when I got there. When I left, they were doing almost $100,000. Royal Oaks did $975,000 a year. We're over 2.5 million a year in revenue. So it happens quick. But a director's job is not just, it's not teaching and it's not just programming, but it's really taking care of your people, and it's learning how to. And that sounds cliche as shit, I know, but it's not. Like, you have to make other people successful. You have to learn how to help people get along, how to help people use each other, thank each other, help each other, want to genuinely put somebody else first, and understand that if we're all helping, we're all going to make more money. The members are going to be happier. If you only focus on your success, well, I always say we either win or we lose together. And that's just the truth. Whether you look at surveys, whether you look at money, like, we're all better together. So and the message of the Directors Club, what I love is it ties to my message at the clubs I've always worked at, is just we're better together, and we're a family, and we have to take care of each other.
Well, I tell you, congratulations on all the successes, first of all. And you hit on two things that I want to talk about more. One is, you mentioned golf. And the funny story with us is we actually met through golf, because one of your other partner members, Joe Gross from Paddle Lux, said, you have to meet this guy, Jarrett. And that's a golf buddy of mine, right? We network together. He's a client. He's a client in multiple companies, and we play golf when we can together. So I was out there a couple Fridays ago with him, thanking him for introductions and vice versa, because it's cool that I found you through golf, and you have nothing to do with golf. And then the second thing is, you mentioned you're going to have Andre Agassi, and I've got a funny Agassi story for you.
Love to hear it. I love, Joe's the best, because I was born in New Jersey. So I just have you can always tell when someone's from New Jersey, and it always feels like home to me. And him and I, just like similar to you and I, we just hit it off instantly. And he was the best. He is the best.
Yeah, he's great. So the Agassi story, I lived in Vegas for 3 years, and I was sitting at a coffee shop in, I forget which hotel, either the Palms or the one right across from it. And I was just sipping a coffee, sitting in the hotel, in the coffee shop in the hotel. And a guy comes up to me and asks me for my autograph. And I look at him sideways, because I have no idea why he's asking me for my autograph. And he goes, and I go, well, why do you want my autograph? Who do you think I am? And I had a goatee at the time, and you see the shaved head.
Yeah.
So he thought that I was Agassi.
Oh my God. Well, being in Vegas, I guess it's a good shot.
Well, I was going to say, he lived in Vegas at the time. He was in the camera commercials. So he was famous beyond just tennis. He was married to a supermodel, or to Steffi Graf, rather, who could be a supermodel. She was so pretty, and probably still is. And I was flattered, but I was like, I'm not that guy. So that's my funny Agassi story for you.
That's funny. Yeah, he still lives in Vegas. He's doing so much now with pickleball, which has been great to see. And he does a lot with one of our partners, Yola, which has been, really. I think that was a bet, paying Agassi to do paddle, saying, is a tennis player really relevant in pickleball? And I'll tell you, those paddles that Agassi created, those are probably the best pickleball paddles you can buy right now. It's very unexpected, but it is one hell of a paddle.
Okay. And talk to me a little bit about tennis and pickleball work together or work against each other, because I've heard both sides.
Well, anyone that says they work against each other is an idiot, and really has no business in the industry. There's, there was so long when it was starting. And listen, I got into pickleball like almost 15 years ago. So, I've watched
before guys like me knew it existed.
yeah, back when there was 200,000 people playing, and now there's over 50 million. And, I think that if you understand crossover rates, that's the most important. On average, there's a 30% crossover rate, meaning if 100 people are playing pickleball, 30% of those 30 people will play tennis if that's the other sport you offer at your club.
Okay.
And when you look at that, it comes down to the pros. You need pros that are rackets professionals, that know how to teach pickleball, that know how to teach tennis, that are invested in both, that can say, hey, if you're a tennis player, try pickleball. This will help your tennis. This is the skills you'll have from it. This is how it can make you better at pickleball, and vice versa. It's really connecting the dots for them. And it's a sport that anybody can play, which is great. So when you look at tennis is a more expensive sport. It's harder to pick up. It's like golf. And so if you're not good at it, it's easy to quit. So pickleball brings more people to the courts. And once you learn how to play pickleball, it's a lot easier to go to tennis. And I always have said, I don't give two shits what you do at my club. All I care is that you're on my courts. And that's why I'll do mahjong events. I'll do pickleball. I'll do Nerf guns. I just want all the kids there because I understand if the kids and the adults are there, I can get them into my other programs knowing conversion rates. Now, the biggest clubs in the world do when I was at Baltimore Country Club, we had 5 sports. We had an 82% conversion rate between sports. Wow. Royal Oaks, we're up over 80% between the two, tennis and pickleball. So, if you can do that, when you look at a club that does $1 million and, how did they get to 2 million? They must have raised prices. Well, no, we actually didn't raise prices. It's just when you have parties that have 40 people playing tennis and you add juniors and you add pickleball to it, and now parties are going up to 120 plus, and you have all these different programs running together and there's crossover, everybody wins. So it's really understanding. And the people that say one's bad for the other, they don't understand. And USTA has been huge with that. USTA likes to showcase that padel is growing so fast. And padel is growing, but you can't compare it to pickleball. It's like comparing a fire hose going off to like a spigot that's dripping. A slow drip is not a bad thing. That's continual growth. That's what padel is doing. It will continue to grow. It will continue to grow as a slow drip. Pickleball is a fire hose. But they do that because they feel like if we can downplay the numbers of people playing pickleball and compare pickleball to padel, it'll look like tennis is so much better. Now, tennis has grown to over 26 million. They're inching towards 30 million. Okay. But when you actually look at it, the conversion from pickleball going to tennis, that's why their numbers are spiking. So if I was USTA, I would control the marketing. Instead of trying to say it's the healthiest sport in the world and all that other marketing bullshit that they do, I would say, understand conversion rates, I'd say there's 50 million people playing pickleball. There's 60 million. Let's celebrate this, because I know the next logical sport to get into other than pickleball would be tennis. So if there's 50 million people playing pickleball, theoretically, there should be another 15 million people eventually getting into tennis. So that's incredible conversion rate. And I think that's how people need to look at it.
Talk a little bit more about the networking that goes on in your club, because I know, I started this podcast originally because golf and business and networking create a harmonious situation, and the magic happens on the 19th hole. Talk to me about how that works in tennis specifically, and then we'll move on to pickleball. Because
it didn't happen. I mean, that's just, you'd have the RSPA, which was USPTA, and you'd have the Professional Tennis Registry conferences, the 2 conferences a year. You'd have like 400 or 500 people that go. No one really talked to anybody outside of their friends. They're mostly teaching pros.
Well, so hold on, Jarrett. Let me stop you right there. I asked the question incorrectly. I'm talking about the business networking that goes on between your members. That's what I'm interested in.
At Royal Oaks or at the
Absolutely, yeah. At Royal Oaks first, and then we can expand on.
At Royal Oaks, there's no business networking. It's really about creating value. I always think it's about creating value for my members, and I've always believed the greatest value is through limitless opportunities. And so I want to have more programs than any other club, and we do. Like if you look, there's anything we're doing a bingo night, which sounds crazy, but we're going to have open bar and food and bingo, and it's a ton of fun, but it gets new people out. And so like if there's limitless opportunities at every different price point, and you can look at, you have junior events that cost $100. You have junior events that cost $25 for 3 hours. And it's understanding like, Well, a babysitter costs $25 to $30 an hour. So if I can put a Nerf gun challenge for 3 hours for $25, that's cheaper than babysitting. So now the members are going to use the club. They're going to drop off their kids. I'm going to get 100 kids. So it's not devaluing a price. It's giving them different options in what you get. A member guest might cost $300. A lesson might cost $105. It might cost, lessons and clinics are different than events. And so I give limitless opportunity to members, and that translates into my staff. So by working together, we're able to promote these events. We're able to fill these events. All the pros get to work now. So before, when there were no events, well, they just were teaching lessons. So you could have been the busiest pro at Royal Oaks. You're still doing a third of what you would do now because there's nothing there. The first thing I did when I got to Royal Oaks, the first week, because at the time I was the one certifying everyone for the professional pickleball registry, I certified my whole staff in pickleball because I wanted them to have the tools. And certification doesn't mean anything more than a foundation of some sort of education, but I wanted to give them that. And then the staff that really invested in it, they're the ones working every pickleball party and that are doing these things all over the country. So, from Royal Oaks perspective, you have to be willing to give options. And if you can do that, that means you have to be open, you have to be looking, you have to try things, throw everything at the wall, whatever sticks. Someone once at Baltimore Country Club said, we need to use the same flyer. We want an evergreen flyer. And I flipped out. Like, evergreen is such bullshit. Like, everything should always look new. We should want to have things that are fresh. This is not, you don't put something on repeat. Everything dies in 3 to 5 years. All programs, and this holds true anywhere. All programs die in 3 to 5 years if nothing's changed. And that doesn't just mean programs. That means staff. I hire people that want to be directors. My ideal pro wants to be with me for 3 to 5 years. That's going to come in, bring me ideas, work their ass off, and say, help me become a director. And then I will send them off to become a director. There's a reason why when we're growing so much and staffing so hard that everybody wants to work at Royal Oaks. They know that they're going to learn. They also know that they're going to get director jobs if they put their time in. And I'm not a micromanager. So I'm not going to sit there and give you a folder and say, here, this is what I want you to learn. You're going to come in, you're going to get thrown in the deep end. It's up to you to ask questions. But if you're hungry, you're going to learn more than anywhere else. And that's what's important. And I think that's what's made, Royal Oak shine.
And I love the fact that you have a lot of kids programs. I think that's critically important, not just for your club, but in general, because, they get so much screen time and they're in school, 3/4 of the day, and then they're on their screens for hours. And getting kids outside. I mean, I know that, you and I are probably in the same age bracket. People younger than us don't go outside anymore. It's crazy to me. I have to pick up the pieces of my exploded head off the ground because I was outside all the time. And it's refreshing to hear that you're getting these kids out there. They're meeting other kids. It's not babysitting, right? They're learning, they're playing, they're moving their bodies, they're exercising, they're being competitive with one another, hopefully in a positive way, but they're being competitive, which is important. And that translates into the business world if they don't become a professional athlete or a director of racket sports or a sales guy like me.
But it also goes to the small things, like it's being aware of what's going on in the world. Like, parents want to do better. They want to give their kids better. So, like, a lot of times, like, you put a kid on an iPad because, like, you just need a break and there's no other option. Babysitters are not always available. I know they're not in Dallas. So to be able to give our members that breaks where they can trust, it always goes back to trust. They can trust that their kids are going to have a great time. They're not going to be in front of a screen. And they can have no guilt going and saying, I'm going to go have a drink at the club, or I'm going to play a round of golf or play tennis or pickleball. That's really special. It's saying, on Thursdays when there's league matches, I'm going to find some new snacks to put out. I mean, we've done protein balls, banana bread, pumpkin bread. We're doing Pop-Tarts, healthy ones. Like, what are these little things? Are we giving our kids red dye, or are we actually making an effort after clinics and giving them chocolate? It's, people notice those little things. And most directors, I think, and this isn't just tennis, this is golf, this is GMs, this is every industry. Most people just don't care because it's harder to care. And if something's going well, then they're just going to keep going with it. But my standpoint is I always I've always lived my life always prepared for something to go wrong. And I know that's not like a great way to look at things, but it's always kept my foot on the gas. And whether that's with the Directors Club or that's at Royal Oaks, it's always fueled me to think of what's next and to be better. And that's what people need. And if everybody did that, the world would be a better place, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. So what else is going on with you, with the club, with Royal Oaks? Like give me the update.
Well, Royal Oaks is packed. We just finished our league season, which was fantastic. I mean, we have probably 42 teams, I think, between USTA, TCD, pickleball. We started two leagues in Dallas, our own outside of the huge leagues in Dallas, and there's something called TCD. Tennis Competitors of Dallas has 24,000 women that play, which is huge. So we have the most teams for that, but we start our own leagues that have a few thousand people in them. So we're constantly growing, and which has really allowed us to really become friends with these other clubs and do things together. So now members can enjoy all these different clubs with all their friends, which has been incredible. And the Directors Club, I mean, God, I tell you, it's exciting, it's stressful. I feel like we're on the cusp of something truly great. It's becoming the standard of the industry. And what makes me happiest is seeing these people get better jobs. I mean, the search industry has failed rackets so much because of selfish leaders that only want money and they push these people into bad situations. And now for the first time, we're able to put leaders in front of GMs directly, and GMs are bought into the Directors Club and they're learning and saying, this makes sense. We write master plans for facilities, but clubs need to write master plans for people. And if they do that, they're going to hold their staff. If they hold the directors longer and the directors are doing better, the members are having a better experience. And so we have a huge announcement coming up with search and consulting, where we just announced the dates for the retreat next year, which is April 12th to 14th. Which even that announcement got over 100 likes on LinkedIn, and it's seen by, I think it was seen by over 35,000 people in 2 days. I mean, it's huge. And so we're creating the video, because we do a video every year that'll launch June 1st. Tickets will go on sale in either August or September. We'll do the vendor tickets a month before that. We're creating an app. The app is going to be fantastic. But again, like, you can look at the Directors Club and say it does well. Why do we need an app? What do you need it for? Do we need to spend $70,000 or $80,000 on an app? Is somebody going to use it? And the way I look at it is like, who gives a shit? Like, this is worth trying. Like,
Okay.
You need to be able to look on your phone and know who the other directors are close to you. When you're traveling, you want to know what other clubs are in the Directors Club. So you can call and say, hey, Jarrett, I'm in Dallas. Can I stop by for a coffee? I mean, think about for your business when you're traveling, just to be able to see on your phone who's there, send them a push notification, talk to them. I mean, it's limitless. So our goal is to bring people to, it's always been to make the industry smaller by making people's, community, we call it family, larger. And it really is a special time, I think, for the Directors Club. I think we'll up the retreat to 300 this year. We're building out the partnership page. But I think the two big things this year, other than the retreat, which is always my most favorite, everybody's favorite thing, will be the app and this huge search and consulting announcement. And we're disruptors. We've disrupted the industry since we started. And, one of my favorite GM, my first GM, is Harry Ginther, who always has a special spot in my heart. He always said you have to break a few eggs to make an omelet. And I think we do that just about every single day. And the people that are pissed off are the older people that are trying to hang on to relevance, that the sun's long set and need to get the hell out, because the future is about the people that are leading. And we're going to make sure we thrust those leaders in the spotlight.
Yeah, and I was blown away by how many young directors of racket sports I met. And when I say young, 24, 25, 26, 27 years young. And, I introduced myself and they were like, oh, yeah, I'm the director of racket sports at, and pick a club, wherever it was in the country. A lot of international folks as well. Not that they run a club internationally, but they're from another place, and now they're running a club in the United States. And how do you get the best of the best out of the young generation? Because when I was a headhunter and recruiter for 8 years, I found it extraordinarily and increasingly difficult to recruit good people in that age
Well,
bracket.
you see, you came to the retreat, so you're seeing the best of the best.
Right.
So keep in mind, there's over 1,200 people in the Directors Club, and there's thousands and thousands of directors and pros. So, what you saw is, I always say, look at all the amazing people that are there, but think about all the people that could have been that aren't there, and that's the overwhelming people that you see. I also think we have to note that it's not like when I say older people, it's not age. Like there's plenty of directors there that are in their 60s. We had some in their 70s. John Joyce got the Lifetime Achievement Award. He's an icon. It's not about age. You can be 70, you can be 20. If you're not invested, then you're not relevant. And so it's not like that. What happened was when it switched from tennis to rackets, you had the people that were always calling the shots. And pickleball, they just didn't understand. And when you don't understand something, you have two options. You can be vulnerable, check your ego, and learn and say, help me, I want to learn to become an expert in something. Or you can say, you don't need pickleball. That's never going to grow. This is how it is. And we saw a huge split. And it worked for a while. And I really believe that if it wasn't for the Directors Club shining a light on all this, it would still be going that way. But now what you see is the people that didn't invest, and those are the people that ran these specific search firms for so long, that if people would just dig in a little bit, they'd realize they only worked at seasonal clubs their whole life. So they really don't know anything anyway. So the GM should not be asking them for advice on compensation. But when you actually dive into it, it's about the people that are invested. So who you saw at the retreat, those are people that are not only invested in the industry, in their clubs, but they're also invested in each other, and they're inspiring each other. And that retreat is not about inspiring people, because that's what I don't like about motivational talks. You go there, you get inspired for a day, and then it's back to the same crap. What I like about that is I feel like it fuels people. You go there, you're not inspired by the speakers, you're inspired by each other. And what we do is we fuel relationships, we make introductions. And out of that, that's what grows. You can see it on LinkedIn. You can see how many posts come out of that, how many people are texting, all the articles that are getting written now. That's what we do. We fuel success. And these directors are already successful. We're just bringing them together to launch the rocket ship in outer space. And that's what's never happened before.
And speaking of success, while we're on the subject, I got an email from you a week or two ago about how you are starting the Directors Club podcast now.
Yes. So we started something called, good point. I forgot about that. We do so many things.
We got so many things going on. I had to remember it for you.
So we started something called Power Players. So again, you have everybody does a podcast. I know, like University of Florida does one called Racquet Fuel. It's absolutely terrible. It'll put you to sleep. And again, it comes from, I want people to sign on LinkedIn, and every time they look, they see the Directors Club somewhere, so that they're reminded who's leading, and it showcases we have to give a voice to the best in the industry that don't have to have a filter, that can say the truth, because people listen to who's talking. So we have to give the mic to them. And so, Jen Gelhaus and Kyle Lacroix are the hosts, and Jen, she does something called Vita Podcast, which, I only learned about after she joined the Directors Club, and I went on it, and it got popular, and I thought she's fantastic. And Kyle's always interesting. And I always said, I said to Jen, I said, I have this idea. Let's call it Power Players. Would you do it with Kyle? Like, I think you're great, but like, I can get you better guests. So I book the guests. I'm like a booking agent, and they run with it. I don't listen to it until it's live. I don't want to listen to it until it's live. I have it set on my phone. I thought the first episode was incredible, but it gives these real leaders a chance to talk about something honest. And so, like, when you have these few search people left, or the few bad people that are left trying to push down things like compensation, or telling you what a director needs or doesn't need, well, you now have GMs telling you things. You have directors telling you things. You have CEOs telling you things. And you can't hide it. You can't. And we called it Power Players because that's what they are. These are the leaders, not only in rackets and hospitality, but in all industry. And so every month we launch an episode, and every week we launch 4 clips from that episode. And clips are great because clips show you important pieces that you usually wouldn't say. And together we're just continuing to give a voice. And my thing, I'll start rambling, but The Directors Club is not about me. It's about, like I told you, it's about all of us. And so, I want people to think about, when they think about the DCA, they don't think about, and I think we're there. They don't think Jarrett Chirrico. They think this industry as a whole. They know they're a part of something bigger. They think of each other. They think of success. And that's what I want them to think of when they think of Directors Club. I want them to think of success and what's possible and know it's achievable through these relationships with each other.
Okay. So the name of the podcast is Power Players.
Power Players. Yep.
All right. How many episodes are out as of this recording today?
Monday was the first one. We have 9 filmed already. 9 filmed already to launch one a month. The speakers are, they're good. That we've gotten some really great speakers, and I've heard that they were. Kyle's not one to bullshit. So for him to say it was over the top great, I believe in. And knowing who is on, I know it'll be great. And it's everything from, culture is a big one. Every club likes to say, oh, it's the best culture. 9 times out of 10, it's bullshit. And when you look at the person, I'm not going to say his name, but the guest on there and talked about culture, it's the best culture in the industry. You feel it the minute you walk in. And many of the directors in the Directors Club have met him in person and have been blown away. So, culture, people talk about compensation a lot, but culture is a huge one. You got to like where you work. You got to love it because you're there a lot.
Yeah, if you're driving to work on Monday, cursing in traffic and being miserable, and that's not the place for you, for sure. I agree wholeheartedly, and I lived it. I was in banking when I first got out of college, and that was not I was not a good fit for corporate America, as I'm sure you're not either. So I appreciate that immensely, Jarrett.
Yeah, it just makes a world of difference.
Well, great, man. This has been absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much for taking the time. I know you're a super busy guy, to say the least, and I've enjoyed having you. You're welcome back anytime. I'm going to have your business partner, Chris, on in a couple weeks, and can't say enough good things about the Directors Club. And I can't wait. I got to go to Dallas now just so I can see Royal Oaks. So
you need to come to Dallas, but make sure that he's not better than me on here. I got a strong feeling he won't be, but just in case.
Ooh, I'm going to send him this one, and then that'll fuel the fire. I like it. Not that tennis guys would be competitive at all.
Yeah, not at all.
All right, well, listen, everybody, thank you for listening. That's Jarrett Chirrico from Royal Oaks Country Club in Dallas, Texas, and the Directors Club of America, everywhere in America. And I'm looking forward to the retreat already, and it's still 8, 9 months away, 10 months away. So,
Me too.
I'm really excited about it. And thank you again, Jarrett. And thanks to our listeners. We'll catch you next week on the On Par podcast.